Behind you.
I'm taking shots.
Yeah!
Down.
Polygon is one of those websites that I don't think anybody actually understands. Every once in a while, they'll put out some horrible take and everyone will bash them, and then they'll go back to just covering the news, but then a few months later, someone accidentally leans on the reset button and they come out with another horrible take. So what is it this time? Mario Kart 8 will flop? Gaming's toxic men explained? Nah, this time we're climbing into the microtransaction discussion and sitting in what is possibly the most unpopular corner of the planet. Because not only is it a bad thing that the new Need for Speed doesn't have microtransactions, but it's also a bad thing that EA showed restraint with their latest big name release. I want to know how you can be a professional video game journalist and dedicate your livelihood to following the industry trends and still manage to be this out of touch with the demographic you're writing for. That must be the most soundproof echo chamber in the world. In Need for Speed Heat, the elephant not in the room is microtransactions. Don't get me wrong, having a clean game free of that kind of icky pocket-picking influence is fundamentally a good thing. But the fact EA launched this without any microtransaction marketplace is the strongest sign the publisher has little to no expectations for it. This may go the way of the Medal of Honor series. Okay, so 4 sentences in, we've established that it's a good thing to launch a game with no microtransactions, but it's also a bad thing to launch a game with no microtransactions. Got it. If you're comparing Need for Speed to like Battlefront 2 and like FIFA and Madden, yeah, there's a pretty stark contrast there, but have you just not been paying attention recently? EA's been easing off on microtransactions all around. Probably their most successful non-sport game this year was Apex Legends, which is free to play and has a very consumer-friendly business model. They just launched Jedi Fallen Order with no microtransactions. They made a big deal about how they reworked Battlefront 2 to remove the necessity of microtransactions. I mean, yeah, everyone shits on EA for their business model, but them launching a game with no microtransactions in 2019, it's not something to be that surprised by. And also, this may go the way of the Medal of Honor series. Medal of Honor hasn't been a thing for like 6 years. Since before the microtransaction craze. Comparing a game with no microtransactions in 2019 to a series with no microtransactions from the last console gen, I may be nitpicking, but let's just go on. Need for Speed Payback launched in 2017 alongside Star Wars Battlefront 2 with a similar loot box model. Random draws available for real money that upgrade your experience and drive your career progression. But because it wasn't Star Wars, and also because Need for Speed didn't have a companion movie launching at the same time, fewer lawmakers in Hawaii, Belgium, and elsewhere noticed. Again, have you just not been paying attention? I remember Need for Speed Payback's business model. A lot of people were talking about it. Just because lawmakers didn't take note of that game specifically doesn't mean that people just forgot about it. Also, the lawmakers in Hawaii and Belgium and all the laws that have come forward about loot boxes and RNG microtransactions, they weren't just for Star Wars Battlefront 2, they were for everything. They were just using Battlefront 2 as the main example because it was the most high-profile game to have a really egregious business model. Am I really doing your job for you here? EA's product focus during Andrew Wilson's tenure as CEO has been software as a service. The publisher's games, even NBA Live 19, have had to show some kind of open-ended revenue model. Titles like NCAA Football and wait, they're still making NCAA Football? And EA Sports UFC forced in Ultimate Team modes, no matter how incongruent that concept is with the sport being played. Need for Speed Heat has 0 microtransactions at launch. Again, a good thing. But it's perverse that, in 2019, a mainstream observer could see that meaning it's a stepchild product to the publisher. And unless you think I'm being too inside baseball with that analysis, Target already put out a Black Friday ad discounting the game to $35 1 week before its release. Alright, a few things here. First of all, again, not to be too ad hominem, but I don't think anybody's going to read this article and think you're being too inside baseball with anything. But also, using your own logic here, that means Jedi Fallen Order is also a stepchild product to EA, because that launched with no microtransactions, which is just wrong. Also, Target putting out a Black Friday ad for $35, that's that doesn't really stand out to me as anything significant. Games always go hard on sale on Black Friday. The games go hard on sale all the time. In fact, I'd say Target is kind of underappreciated for the sales they do. Seriously, Target does some really good sales on video games. You should pay attention to that. But yeah, I'm looking at the Target Black Friday sale thing right now. I have it pulled up and I'll put it on screen. They're also selling Modern Warfare for $45. NHL 20 is $35. The new Switch port of Spyro is only $25. The Zombieland game that came out, last month? That's down to $15. I think you may be reading a little too far into the significance of a Black Friday sale. I can remember sludging through Need for Speed Undercover a decade ago and being grateful that I could buy the Bugatti Veyron to blow by the rubber-banding police pursuit and finally finish the son of a bitch. Need for Speed doesn't even offer that. I'm sorry, are you grieving the loss of microtransactions now? There may be some DLC car packs later on, but at this point, it's a total throwback. Everything on the disc, unlockable, like we're back in 2005 or something. Jesus, can you imagine games having everything on the disc unlockable through gameplay? Can you imagine how much of a fucking loser you gotta be to release a complete game? I mean, how much of an incel do you gotta be to only charge people once for a piece of entertainment? Consumer-friendly business models? Fuck you. That was a little mean. I'm gonna cut that part out. I agree, given all of the specialty press's coverage and scolding of microtransactions and premium DLC, that it may be unfair of me to interpret this first as a corporate lack of confidence, rather than celebrate Need for Speed Heat as a high-value product that all gamers should enjoy. Yeah, I stand by my review. The racing systems are enjoyable, the progression is understandable, it's kind of grindy, but so is Death Stranding. Ooh, don't tell the Sony fanboys. And Need for Speed Heat at least has more payoff earlier in the game. Ooh, don't tell Kojima you said that. But still, the landscape that EA and its peers have shaped over the past decade. Did you mean to put this is the landscape? If a game launches with a big microtransaction component, they think they have a winner. If it doesn't, well... Okay, let's just go over some big games this year that didn't launch with microtransactions, since I have to do your journalism for you. Jedi Fallen Order, Death Stranding, Pokemon Sword and Shield, The Outer Worlds, Modern Warfare, Luigi's Mansion 3, Sekiro, Kingdom Hearts 3, Metro Exodus, Resident Evil 2, Just Dance 2020, rest in peace Wii, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, Days Gone, Astral Chain. Have we gotten to the point that if a game doesn't launch with microtransactions, people just assume that not only is it going to flop, but it also means the publisher has no faith in it? I swear, it's like games journalists are 6 months behind the rest of the gaming world. I mean, it is kind of sad that we live in a world where if a AAA publisher shows some kind of restraint, then they're just praised for it. But I mean, at least we're moving in the right direction and correcting things. But then here come the games journalists saying that no, actually, guys, if you don't launch your games with microtransactions, that means the publisher doesn't have faith in it. Look, 2019 has been a pretty fucking good year for games. We've had some really good games, we've had some really good business models. Yeah, there have been a few standout stinkers, Anthem and Fallout 76. Yes, there are games that are going to be egregious. There are always going to be games that are in your face with how much they just want your money, especially if they come from Bethesda. But shouldn't we be happy that a game like Need for Speed is coming out with no microtransactions? And also that Fallen Order just came out with no microtransactions and a huge marketing push behind it, and Modern Warfare came out with no microtransactions? Yeah, they're doing the Activision thing of adding them later, but still. You see what I'm saying here? This is just another reason why people don't take games journalism seriously. It seems like you guys are 6 months behind the rest of the industry at all times. If a high-profile game had launched without microtransactions early 2018 or late 2017, if a big AAA game had launched without microtransactions then I could see the argument then that maybe the publisher didn't have a lot of faith in it, but this is 2019. This entire year has basically been all about correcting the path of the games industry, and that's a great thing. I hope Need for Speed does well. I hope Jedi Fallen Order does well. Even if I don't particularly care about these games, I want the AAA games that have good business models and push things in the right direction to do well. And I want people to enjoy them. What's wrong with that? I'm not saying you have to completely abandon the echo chamber, Polygon, but let's at least crack a window open, yeah? Let's at least take a look at the way things have been moving the last 12 months. Okay? Can you do that for me?